Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the space for powerhouse women ready to step into their next level of abundance, purpose, and personal freedom. I'm Dr. Corey Winn, a high performance coach, doctor of physical therapy, philanthropist, and business consultant. I help ambitious women align with their highest calling, expand their wealth and impact, and create a life that feels as good as it looks. If you're a high achieving woman who's built success yet finds yourself craving more alignment, more purpose, more ease, you're in the right place. Here, we bridge the gap between ambition and fulfillment. Through transformative conversations and proven strategies, you'll gain the courage to step into the fullest expression of you. Build a powerhouse business that aligns with your expertise and divine gifts, and lead your life, both personally and professionally, with unshakable confidence, worthiness, and compassion. This is about expansion, legacy, and owning your power unapologetically. You already have everything inside of you to create a life of unlimited possibility. It's time to unlock it. Welcome to your next level. Let's dive in. This episode of Empower Her Radio with Dr. Corey Winn is brought to you by Her Quantum Rise, the private coaching experience for the woman who refuses to play small. Her Quantum Rise is where high-achieving women come to elevate their leadership, align with their deepest purpose, and unlock overflow in every area of life. This is where you shed the old paradigm, step into your highest identity, and rise with clarity, certainty, and unstoppable momentum. If you're ready to move from doing it all to leading from grounded power, if you feel the pull toward a bigger life, a bigger mission, and a bigger capacity to receive, then I would love to explore what this next level looks like for you. Book a complimentary call at www.coreywin.com/free call and step into the room where your expansion becomes inevitable. Your rise starts here. Today, I am so excited to invite our guest, Daria Rudnik, to the show. She is the definition of quiet power. She's a team architect and executive leadership coach, former chief people officer, ex-Deloitte professional, and author of Clicking, and co-author of The AI Revolution. With over 15 years of international executive experience and having led through global crises, relocation, and even war, Daria helps leaders build high-performing, sufficient teams in a rapidly changing world. Daria, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me here, Corey. I love listening to your podcast, and now I'm excited to be as a guest here.
I love it. So take us back to the moment you realized that you were often the only woman in the C-suite. How did you get there? How did you feel? And how did you normalize it?
Well, thanks for the question. And it was a while ago, to be honest. And I was working for a telecom company, and well, I was chief people officer there, and all the other like C-suite members were men. It was an interesting experience. I didn't think about then like that I was the only woman, but all I thought about is it was my first chief people officer role. I wanted to excel. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to be out there. And I had so many questions. Okay, how do I show up? Like, do I become more soft and gentle and kind of fluid, or should I be more assertive and kind of straightforward and loud, loud? And none of those actually fit my style, and kind of none of them felt that that's me. And I was struggling with that a lot, kind of trying to find my voice. And I think it is a combination of new role and male dominated culture. But I have to say that the company was amazing, and the people were great. And that helped me like calm down and find my way, which is not being the loudest person in the room, being introvert myself. I find it hard, but kind of having those conversations in between meetings, having one-to-one conversations with my C-suite colleagues, understanding their pains, being a supportive partner for them in driving their business, their units. That is what helped me. And that was the main, like the very important shift of trying to be someone I'm not to
Hmm.
actually finding my way.
I love that. I feel like so many of us as women think we need to be something else. So I love and I want to really honor you for really stepping into know what feels good to me. Who am I? What gifts do I bring to the table? And then sharing that in the way that felt good to you. And I feel like so often as women, we do think that we have to do it a certain way or show up a certain way to be respected, valued. Um, what was maybe the biggest thing that you learned from those first moments of you deciding, no, I'm stepping into this as myself?
Well, I think the most important realization for me was um, that people have, like most people, at least on my team, they had very good intentions.
Mhm.
Although, again, we've been grown up in different environments where some things that now when people not saying they used to say that and their parents were saying that I know it's good for you as a woman or things like that or like isn't it too hard, isn't it too complicated for you?
Mhm.
And at first it felt like okay, they're trying to offend me, but then I realized well, they're not, they're trying to help me in the way that they can. And it's my not my job to judge them and kind of accuse them of being wrong, but it's kind of trying to help them sometimes understand that I'm okay. You don't need to kind of think that I'm not less capable, even if you don't think it. If you want try to help me, if I need some help, I'll come and ask you. But like switching this from being judgmental and kind of trying to protect myself, okay, they're not behaving the way I want them to behave, to
Yeah,
be seeing the good intentions behind their actions is what really helped me calm down and be more confident in who I am and how I show up.
I love that. Well, and I think that a lot of us can assume walking into a male dominated room, we're going to be met in a certain way or certain things are going to be said. And as we become the women that we have always meant to be, we step into our own power, a lot of that just tends to fall away. You know, as I've grown over the years, those types of comments and those types of environments really don't exist in my world anymore, which is incredible. And I know that many women don't feel that way. But when I was preparing for today, you talk a lot about quiet influence. What does that mean to you, and how can you share that with our audience?
Well, that was a kind of shared. It's sometimes people think that to be heard and visible, it's super important. I mean, you need to be visible at work to be able to create some impact. But it doesn't have to be during the meeting when everyone is trying to show what they're capable of and trying to say something and make sure that they had their word there. If you're not that kind of person, if it's hard for you to kind of be the loudest person in the room. You don't have to be because there is lots happening in between. If you get an invitation for a meeting, for example, reach out to the organizer and say, "How can I help? Like, what do you expect from me? How can I add value to your meeting?" Or reach out to decision makers that will be present at this meeting and say, "Hey, these are things I want to share. What do you think?" Get their input. So basically, you're helping them to create a better agenda for the meeting.
Hmm.
You help them understand what they can expect at the meeting, and you also prepare them so that when the meeting starts they know that you have something interesting to share because you
Yeah.
shared it with them, they helped you shape it, and they gave you feedback and they want to hear because they are part of this conversation. But even if this didn't happen and you didn't have the chance to prepare to talk to them beforehand, there is always a follow-up. You can reach out to those people and say, "Hey, here is what I can add. Here is some data. Here is some new ideas. Here is like I know some risks that I have identified." Keep this conversation going. Keep bringing value, not during those 60 minutes of the meeting, but before, during, and after the meeting. And that's how you build relationship, and that's how you can like create impact and bring real value, not just being the loudest person in this room.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and for me personally, for years, I thought I had to figure out these huge networking events or these huge meetings and be in that space and feel comfortable. And I am not comfortable in that setting. I'm not. Small groups and one-on-one is where I thrive, and I'm okay with that. And I think what I'm hearing you say too is for these women to really take stock for a second in where they feel comfortable, because when you feel comfortable, your light can shine brighter. You can bring the ideas to the table. If you're in a situation where you're just constantly nervous, it's not going to come out like you want it to.
That's true. Yeah.
Do you also help women work through, building their confidence, but also not overextending themselves and not burning themselves out in the process of trying to show up well in what a lot of times, especially tech, is a male-dominated field?
Well, since I work a lot with female leaders, those who have their teams, I see a pattern when they want to be good leaders. They want to protect their teams. They want to support their teams. So they do spend a lot of time having one-to-ones with their teams, but they also spend a lot of time kind of getting feedback and being the go-to person within their area of expertise,
Mhm.
which on one hand is good because it strengthens their visibility. On the other hand, they are exhausting themselves. But the other thing is they actually demotivating their teams. And I'll tell you a story. I was working with a chief of cybersecurity in a company, and she was amazing, and she wanted to be a good leader. She wanted to protect her team members, and she was always like everyone knew her in the company, and everyone was coming to her with feedback, bringing her feedback like about their team members and asking questions and things like that. And she thought she's protecting her team from those unnecessary questions and unnecessary, sometimes not pleasant feedback
Mhm.
by having all those conversations. But at some point, she saw like, through the engagement survey that her team members become demotivated and disengaged. They were losing motivation and engagement, and she didn't know why, what's happened. But when we looked at the way how team members communicated with each other and with the organization and how she communicated with the organization, it became clear that she has a lot of connections, like many connections within the organization, but her team members were connected only to themselves and her as a leader. They didn't have this connection with the broader organization, and that, well, they felt isolated. They didn't feel protected, they felt isolated. So when
Mhm.
she kind of stretched herself, overloaded with all of those requests and conversations, basically she didn't like serve well for herself and for her team members as well. So what she did instead is she let them go out there, have those conversations with stakeholders, understand stakeholders' needs, collect feedback, and well, she had more time and they had more communication, more connections, and more engagement, and that was working well for both. For I think for all of them, for organization because they had motivated team, for team members who finally realized, okay, these are the people we're helping. These are organizational goals that we need to support, and for herself because she had more time.
I am so glad that you brought this up because my husband and I literally had this conversation yesterday. We've both been in healthcare for a very long time, and there's almost always a very good relationship between the frontline staff and their immediate supervisor. It's the C-suite, it's the ELT above that that people don't know. They don't understand the mission. They don't maybe see how invested people are. And it's like they're this otherworldly being that they're so far disconnected from, they wouldn't even know. And I've seen over the years, I've seen ELT come through and say hello and speak to everyone, and it changes the entire outcome versus, executive leadership who maybe walks through your area, doesn't say hello, doesn't look up from their phone, and just keeps going. And what people don't recognize is that body language matters. If you want people to work for you and to pay attention to your mission, you have to value them from the top down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What do you feel like, you think about, let's talk about your book a little bit, Clicking and building teams. What are like maybe the top three pieces of advice you can give when it comes to building successful teams?
So I have five. Well, since the book is called
Let's
Clicking, there are
let's go with
five
the top
pillars.
five then.
Yeah, there are five pillars, like kind of the click framework. Well, we're overusing the word team. If you get people together and give them one manager, it doesn't make them a team.
Mhm.
For a team to really be a self-sufficient, high-performing, for a group of people to be a self-sufficient, high-performing team, they need to have first clear purpose. Like, what is it we're doing together that we cannot do individually? Like, why we're together?
Mhm.
The second one is linking connections, how we are connected between each other, how we communicate, do we know each other, and how we are connected with the broader organization.
Mhm.
The third one is integrated work, our
Mhm.
norms and rules of teamwork. How often do we have our meetings? What are the rules of working together? When do we reply to emails? What are our team KPIs? The fourth one is collaborative decisions, how we make decisions as a team. Some decisions are made by team leaders, some decisions can be made by individual contributors, and some decisions need to be made collaboratively together.
Mhm.
And the fifth one is knowledge sharing, how we learn and grow as a team. So when you have clear purpose, linking connections, integrated work, collaborative decisions, and knowledge sharing, you'll have your team click.
I love that. I love that so much. And what I also hear from you is it gives each person within the organization a clear goal. I mean, okay, this is happening here. These are the expectations of this interaction, and we move forward. And what I'm also hearing from you, it makes things go so much more smoothly. There's no question as to what's the purpose of this meeting? Why am I here? Did I really need to be in this room? So let's go back just a little bit though. In our bio or in our introduction today, I talked a little bit about rapid relocation and you moving through crises. Can you speak to that a little bit? I don't want to take your story away.
Well, it happened that I've been through, I've been helping organizations go through different crisis situations. And some of them we all witnessed, like the COVID, when everything just
Yeah.
changed like in one day.
Yes,
And you had
right.
to change, and we had to change how organizations are working. That was interesting experience. The other one was when I was working in a bank. It was 2008, and it was financial crisis, like
Yes.
for organizations. And like again, like now it's very disturbing times. Lots of military conflicts, and I was helping some organizations that are actually in those zones, how they can be resilient to whatever is going on around them and keep running their business. And through all of those stories, what I've seen is when you have a strong team, when you have a strong culture, you can survive those disruptions. Whether it's something global like financial crisis or COVID or again military conflict, or whether it's something like your company specific like M&A, for example, or transformation, internal transformation.
Mhm.
If you don't have that, I've seen companies failing and disappearing because they didn't have strong leadership here. And I've seen companies like the bank, going through this crisis with their heads up and all the people staying, clients staying, and they managed to survive that because they had this strong culture and strong teams.
I love that. Well, and from a physical therapy standpoint, I mean, years ago, I worked with patients after workers' comp injuries. And one of the biggest indicators of people returning to work wasn't their level of injury, wasn't the level of compensation they had before. It was their direct relationship with their direct, supervisor. So when you talk about culture, we spend more time of our waking hours, most of the time, with our work colleagues than we do with our own family, the people we chose to be around. So that culture is what makes people stay in jobs for so long. It, like you said, spans crises. And I don't think a lot of times people recognize how much their work relationships do matter. When those things aren't there, what are some of the first signs that the team is starting to crumble?
Well, I think it's silence when you don't hear people talk, when you don't hear questions, when you don't hear arguments, It's a very strong signal that something is wrong. Could be because people are not motivated. Could be because people are motivated but too tired. Could be because people are afraid or to ask questions or to share their concerns. Having like healthy conversations, even a conflict sometimes is better than silence because when there is a conflict, there is something you can work with. There's something you can deal with. The frustration is out there. You can help people go through that. But when there is silence, it's very hard to define where it's coming from, and it's very important to address that.
Well, and I think that that also shows how easily culture can change and people can become disengaged, especially, I've heard over the years, I've been in management, the moment that somebody asks for your opinion but doesn't truly listen or value the answer, people are going to stop giving their advice or stop giving their feedback. And in order for organizations to truly thrive, like you said earlier, everybody has to be focused on the same mission. I am in the current process of building my nonprofit. And part of building that is to find people who are just as compassionate about this mission as I am. And over the years, sometimes you have to let people go. So when you've worked with consulting firms and these big tech companies and these CEOs, how often have you had to kind of coach women through it's okay to let this person go, or it's okay to move away from this project because it's not feeding your soul, it's not feeding your culture, it's not living up to the standards that you set forth?
I mean, I love the question because it was one of my first leadership experiences and learnings. Like, how do you let people go so that it doesn't ruin you or them or your relationship or company? And the most important thing is to understand that when you let someone go, when you fire someone, it's you're not doing it because you're a bad person or they're a bad person. You're doing it because there is no fit. And when there is no fit, everyone suffers. You suffer as a manager. They suffer because they're not successful. They are not fulfilling their mission. And an organization is suffering because the organization is not getting the results that they want, that it needs. So in order to do that in the right way, first of all, the person need to be aware that they are not performing well. It
Mhm.
they understand it through feedback you give them, and it's not just feedback that you're doing it wrong. It's the
Mhm.
feedback I expect these things from you. Can you deliver them? Well, you didn't deliver them. How can we help you? You didn't deliver them. How can we help you? You didn't deliver them. Well, probably that's not the right fit. Probably
Right.
you can find something that where you can fulfill your skills, where you can be successful, and it's not here. So let's try and figure out where and how you can be successful and this conversation and these relationships now. So with this approach, when you're trying to help this person to be successful, when you try an organization to be successful, that is a win-win situation, although it's still hard.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I think too, starting, especially if you're able to create your own team, finding the right person for the right job is incredibly important. And also, I feel like what I'm hearing from you too is say you come to me, Corey, wow, I've noticed X, Y, and Z has been happening lately, which is unlike you. Is everything okay? Or, is something going on? Because I feel like, especially in healthcare, working around a lot of moms, I've worked with women whose kids have been sick or there's something has happened to their spouse, but they haven't been comfortable to share that or didn't want to. It's not always our business. But I think too, what I'm hearing from you say is, wow, let's dig deeper for a minute, not automatically assume that they just don't care about their job anymore or they don't care about the company, but something could have actually happened in their life.
Yes, and it could be temporary or it could be permanent. And then again, if it's permanent, help them find a better way, something that suits the situation better.
Yes, absolutely. Before we got on today, I talked a little bit about wanting to really talk about AI. So I want to pivot that just a little bit. So you've built AI powered coaching tools and whatnot. But big picture, what are your thoughts on AI? And I'm fully open, full honest discussion. So give us a little bit of depth there.
Well, I'm an AI optimist. I believe AI can make our life better. I believe that AI can create amazing organizations by helping us understand what kind of skills we have in the organization, what kind of skills we can develop in the organization, and help us actually build those skills. On the other hand, uh, AI, there's a lot of feelings around AI. Well, one of them is fear. Will it replace me? Will my manager think that AI can replace me? Like, how should I react to that? And on the other hand, again, it's wow, AI is super cool. Let's do everything with AI.
Yeah.
And when you do everything with AI, we see this AI work slop that emails created by AI and replies to those emails created by AI and this kind of things.
You read through and you
So
think, I don't quite understand what that means.
so we are in this interesting era of experimenting, trying, and playing with AI. Lots of companies are using AI, but again, like I think about 98% of companies are actually trying and implementing AI, but ROI is very low. I think it's about less than 5% of companies are actually seeing any ROI on those AI investments. A lot of AI projects are being canceled and will be canceled. All those AI agents that we're bringing into the organizations, they'll be removed from organizations because there is a lot of trial and error going on in this space. So we just need to calm down, take a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out, and and try to say, okay, I want to try using AI. What is it I want to try it for? Is it for I don't know, for example, learning something new, and then first identify the goal. What is it I want to learn, and then ask AI. Or I want to do something. I want to create a message, or I want to create an article. Think it through. What is it you want to create with AI, and then ask it for some input. Because if you think about it first and then ask AI to give you some just suggestions, some drafts, and then edit it, your brain stays engaged. There is a research called Your Brain on ChatGPT that if you think it first and ask AI and then work with it, your brain stays engaged. You keep this ownership of the product that AI gives you. But if you just give AI a task or create an article about something for me without thinking about it, your brain is disengaged and there's a high risk of getting some bad results, which will influence like probably your career because no one wants to read some sloppy articles or emails or whatever. So think first what do you want to get from AI, then try some iterations, then critically evaluate what the AI outputs, and then you can use it and you're good to go. And experimentation is it's fun.
Yes, it's so fun. And what I'm hearing you say, and what I want our audience to hear is you are still the expert. You are still the content creator. You are still the physical therapist looking for the exercise program. You're still the tech genius. You are still the input. Now, can AI expand on that? Absolutely. Can you jot down all of your notes and say, please create a cohesive, well thought out email with these notes? Beautiful. But like Daria said, read it. Read it before you send it. I think so many of us were so afraid that everything was going to come out robotic, and it will if you don't put your input in. If you're not still the human behind the AI. Let's talk about wealth without burnout. So you've built beautiful, beautiful career. You've helped other women do the same. How have you done that while maintaining your sanity, while building things outside of your wealth?
Well, I can't say I maintained my sanity all the time, especially with my kids were little.
I appreciate that honesty because I want our listeners to hear we so often tumble through these things. And I mean that in the most graceful way possible, but don't think that this is just an easy flowing, lazy river that gets you to where you're going. So let me just preface it with that. Okay, go ahead.
And again, I'll tell you more. Even when at some point, okay, well, I built my career, was a chief people officer for tech companies, and then I made my relocation and I started my business. It was kind of all upside down once again. But it's okay. And like letting yourself be okay with when things are not okay is the best you can do.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect all the time. I don't have to be perfect all the time. And sometimes I lock myself in the room, get myself a coffee and a chocolate, and I tell kids, no, I will not share this chocolate with you. I'm making myself happy.
Yes, thank you. This is my chocolate, and you may not have any. If you are a mom, go hide with your chocolate, please.
Yeah, yeah. So it's okay that sometimes things are not okay. If you need help, get help. If you don't, if you feel like you're handling it, take yourself, let's say, take a break, have some coffee, have some chocolate, whatever helps you go for a walk and get back to your work.
Early on in my entrepreneurial career, one of my best friends gave me a book called, I think it's called The Mistakes I've Made. And it was such an incredible book to read. And women out there, I hope that you hear both Daria and I say, talk to your friends about the mistakes they've made. Ask, tell them where you've screwed up. Because the more we talk about it, the more it normalizes not shooting for perfection all the time because it's not possible. And the longer you stay in well, it has to be perfect before I launch, or it has to be perfect before I pitch this idea, or whatever, you'll stay stuck. And the more we talk about, well, I tried this and it didn't quite work out like I wanted it to, it normalizes it for the next woman to say, okay, I'm going to pivot here and I'm going to try and see what happens. What do you have to say to that woman who's too scared to take that next step?
Well, that is a great question, and I can only say that I wanted to start my business quite a while, and it was scary because when you have a paycheck, like nice paycheck, coming to you
Yep.
every month, it's very hard to let it go. Um, and it's for me, it was a combination of like my decision, my will, but also a situation. So what I would say is take small steps, and small steps eventually come up to something big.
Mhm.
If you're taking those steps every time towards your goals, even if you're afraid to make this major leap,
Mhm.
uh, those steps will eventually create a situation that will help you make that move.
Mhm.
So for some people, like just taking this leap is the best way to go forward. For some, it's smaller steps that will help you be where you want to be.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I think there's this perception that you have to be one of the other extremes. You have to just burn it all down and go for it, or you have to have 6 months to a year of savings in the bank before you even begin to leave. There's no right answer. And what I hope you hear from Daria is trust yourself. Whatever you need to take that first step is fine. Just know that you don't have to know the how the whole way. Make the decision, and you'll notice that the downloads start coming, the path starts opening up. This has been such a beautiful conversation. I want to make sure that, for one, our listeners know where to find you and to find your book. But also, do you have any lasting advice or information that you want to speak on before we end today?
Well, thank you, Corey. I really enjoyed the conversation. And there was one thing that I really want to share is, especially for leaders, for women leaders, stop being heroes. Stop trying to save the world. Stop trying to save your teams. They are capable. They're grown-up people. It's the era of heroic leadership is gone. Now it's time for empowered teams. And you can build those teams so that you don't have to be exhausted and carry it all. And I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn. So reach out to me. I'm very open to connections. Send me a message. Let's keep this conversation going. You can find me on my website, dariarudnik.com. And my book is available on Amazon and all the major book retailers. So, yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
As we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with this. Your next level is already within you. If you're feeling that pull for more clarity, more alignment, and more courage to step fully into who you're meant to be, this is your invitation to take the next step. Whether you're an entrepreneur ready to scale or a woman standing at the edge of something bigger, the path forward starts with trusting your desires, owning your worth, and leading with your inner knowing. This is exactly what I offer. Private VIP coaching, and where I guide women inside the 10K Club and 50K Club through consulting with She Sells and Superhuman Selling to help you gain clarity, step into aligned action, and build a life and business that reflects your highest vision. If you're ready to explore what's next, let's have a conversation. Book a free call now at www.corywinn.com/free call. I can't wait to connect with you. Talk soon.